Everyone tells you to wait 24 hours before you buy something you didn't plan to buy. It's solid advice on paper. Almost nobody actually uses it the way that makes it work. And that one gap is quietly costing people thousands of dollars a year without them ever noticing where it went. Here's the piece that gets left out. The 24-hour rule isn't really about waiting. It's about giving yourself one specific number to react to before the excitement wears off. And most people skip that number completely. The version that actually works is what I call the 24-10 framework. You still wait 24 hours, but at the start of that waiting period, you do one thing first. You take the price of the item and divide it by your real hourly take-home pay, not your salary number, your actual after-tax hourly rate. If that item costs more than about 10 hours of your take-home pay, you write that number down before you walk away from the screen. Not the dollar amount, the hours. 10 hours of your actual life traded for one thing you saw for the first time an hour ago. That's the part that changes behavior, because a price tag doesn't feel real, but a chunk of your week does. Your brain is very good at rationalizing a number with a dollar sign in front of it. It is much worse at rationalizing away a full workday. And this works whether the item is $50 or $5,000, because the math scales with you. It automatically adjusts to your income, your effort, and your actual time, instead of relying on some generic advice like just wait a day, which sounds responsible but gives your brain nothing concrete to hold on to. Most people who try the 24-hour rule do it wrong, in a way that guarantees it fails. They close the tab, tell themselves they'll think about it, and then just wait. No number, no comparison, nothing written down. 24 hours later, the initial excitement has faded a little, but so has the memory of why they almost didn't buy it in the first place. So they buy it anyway, and they call that patience. Retailers know this. That's exactly why so many sales pages use countdown timers and limited time messaging. They're not trying to beat your budget, they're trying to beat your 24 hours. Because they know a plain waiting period without a concrete number attached to it rarely survives contact with a good sale email or a well-timed notification. This same gap shows up with subscriptions too. People sign up in the moment, tell themselves they'll cancel if they don't use it, and then never revisit the decision because there was never a specific number attached to it in the first place. A $12 subscription doesn't feel worth thinking about. 12 subscriptions like that quietly add up to more than $100 a month, and almost nobody sits down and adds them up until something forces them to look. Buy now, pay later checkouts make this worse, because they split a real number into 4 smaller ones, and a smaller number is easier to wave through without a second thought. The rule without a real number attached to it isn't really a rule. It's a suggestion. And suggestions are easy to ignore when something looks shiny or gets broken into pieces small enough to feel harmless. If you've ever said you'd think about a purchase and then bought it anyway without doing any actual thinking, you're not undisciplined. You just never gave yourself a real number to think about. That's a fixable problem, not a personality flaw, and it's worth being honest about it instead of just feeling vaguely bad every time a package shows up you don't remember ordering. Most people don't need more discipline to fix this. They need one better input at the exact moment their brain is deciding whether something is worth it. And right now that input almost never shows up. Let's put a real number on this. Say you make around $58,000 a year, which works out to roughly $28 an hour after taxes. You see a jacket online for $180. 180 divided by 28 is about 6.4 hours. So that jacket isn't just $180. It's roughly 6 hours of your actual work week, more than half a full workday for one item you found scrolling on your phone. Now try a bigger example. Say a television catches your eye for $800. At that same $28 an hour, that's about 28.6 hours. That's nearly 3/4 of a full work week spent before you've even seen how the picture looks in your own living room. Now stack a few smaller decisions across a month instead of one big one. 3 or 4 purchases in the $100 to $200 range, and you're easily looking at $1,500 to $1,800 a year that never got a real second look before it left your account. That's close to a full month of rent or a meaningful head start on an emergency fund, gone in small pieces nobody ever added up. First, whenever something crosses $50 and it wasn't already planned, open a note on your phone before you do anything else and write down the price and the hours it represents based on your real hourly pay. This takes about 15 seconds, and it's the entire foundation of the whole framework. Second, set an actual reminder for 24 hours later, not a mental note, a real notification, because mental notes are exactly what sale emails, countdown timers, and buy now, pay later checkouts are designed to beat. Third, when that reminder goes off, read the hours out loud before you decide anything. If it still feels worth it once you've said the real cost in time instead of dollars, that's a genuine yes, not an impulse dressed up as one. If it doesn't feel worth it anymore, let it go without guilt, because you already gave it a fair shot instead of just talking yourself out of it in the moment. Wealth Nexus rule. If you wouldn't trade the hours for it in daylight, don't trade the money for it at midnight. If frameworks like this one are useful to you, the Wealth Nexus newsletter breaks down one practical money habit like this every week, short and straight to the point, built for people who want fewer articles and more usable systems. If you want a simple way to track decisions like this one, instead of relying on memory, the Financial Blueprint Workbook has a built-in spending pause worksheet that walks you through this exact hours-based math in under a minute, so the framework becomes a habit instead of something you have to remember to do. The 24-hour rule was never broken. It was just missing its most important ingredient, a real number to react to instead of a vague promise to think it over. Once you start measuring purchases in hours of your life instead of dollars on a screen, you stop needing willpower because the math starts making the decision for you. That's the real shift. Not trying harder to resist things, just giving your brain something honest to compare them to before they leave your account for good. Like and subscribe.